Exempt application hearing. Today's date is May 6, 2025. The time is 3 p.m. In attendance are Commissioners Duncan and Matari. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. We'll go ahead and do our introductions. We have the Assessor's Office with Deputy Assessor Dyson Savage and Kendall, and Terry Johnston with our Board of County Commissioners Office. We'll go ahead and begin with the swearing in of the participants in attendance. So for all of you who will be participating today, please raise your right hand, including those of you on the telephone.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give in the issue pending before the Kootenai County Board of Commissioners shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Public comment. Hearing none. Okay, we'll go to our first item. Number 1, exemption application AIN numbers 103283, 182208, 231772, the Ashley Foundation. And where would you like to start with this? The applicant?
Sorry.
This is Tiffany Spitalia. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you with the Ashley Foundation?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, we can start.
I'm
Yep.
just listening if there's any questions.
Sure.
Okay, well, do you have anything you want to say about your application?
No, I put it all. No, it's all written.
Okay. Commissioner Duncan, do you have any questions?
I do not. The Ashley Foundation actually has several properties that we have approved in the past, and they appear to be functioning within the law to get the exemption. So,
I'll take a motion.
all right. I move that we approve AIN numbers 103283, 182208, 231772, the Ashley Foundation for exempt, tax exempt.
I second.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Take care.
Next up, item 2, exemption application for AIN 185379. It's the Maple Street Community Church. And do we have anyone here from there?
If you'd like
Do
to
you want to come on up and just state your name and you want to hit the little button on that, yes, the little electronic device so that it's green. There you go.
So the particular parcel that we are looking at right now, exactly what is it being used for?
A church.
Okay. Who is the owner of the property?
I can't give you the name. Benchmark Property Management manages the property for, I forget the guy's name,
Okay, but the church does not own the property, is that correct?
by releasing the property, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, state law says that we cannot grant an exemption to a religious organization if they don't own the property. So the actual property owner is the one who gets the exemption, and the property owner is not the church, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Are you responsible for the property taxes?
Yes, it's a triple net lease. So because we are a 501c3 corporation, we own the building on Maple Street. And our situation was a little bit complex because there were two churches that owned the building. It was owned by a third-party corporation called Hayden United Ministries. So we sold that a little over a year ago March, to Real Life Ministries. So we assumed that the property tax exemption was granted to us as a 501c3. So we still operate under Maple Street Community Church. We have a DBA given to us from the state to operate as the Lagos Fellowship. That's how I signed in. So we assumed that the exemption was still applicable to us because of our 501c3 status.
But you mentioned Real Life, but Real Life is not the owner of the
They own
property?
the old building. We sold that old building on Maple Street to them.
Okay,
So the new building is not owned by Real Life, correct?
okay. So I don't see any other way to do this,
You know,
unfortunately.
you have to own the land in order to get the land to be tax exempt. Has to be owned by the nonprofit.
Yeah, okay, I'm a little bit surprised. We had talked about this to some folks and we weren't given that impression,
Yeah.
so,
With the owner of the property, or
I'm sorry.
with the owner of the property, as far as someone giving you that impression?
No, actually, your office.
Well,
So,
and so our office can only take in the applications. They don't do the research up front to see who owns the property, but our legal counsel here can explain the statute.
sure,
Well, Idaho Code 63602B provides that property is exempt from taxation, property belonging to any religious limited liability company or other religious organization. So the belonging to means it actually has to be owned by the church. I did get I got your original application, which I reviewed. I got a packet from the assessor's office showing ownership that's assigned through the deeds and shows to the assessor's office records.
Right.
And that also showed that your church does not own the property.
correct, right,
So it doesn't meet the elements under these statutes, unfortunately.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so, I'm sorry.
all right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
I want to do a motion
Yeah.
to deny.
I move that we disallow is the only thing that's coming up.
Deny.
Deny, thank you. I move that we deny the exempt application for AIN 185379 Maple Street Community Church.
I second the motion.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Next up, item 3, exemption application for AIN 257773, and this is for the International Church Foursquare Gospel doing business as North Church CDA. And this looks like a similar situation.
Yes. So
Is
I
there
don't know if-
anybody from International Church Foursquare Gospel or North Church CDA here?
Okay. So, yeah, it's a little bit different because they do own the property, but the property's not being used for the tax exempt, the religious purpose right now. What I would have asked them is, they do intend to demolish the building that's there and make it into a parking lot, but I didn't know if they were still parking all over the property or not. So once that, we'll be able to approve it next year when it actually does not have a building on there and they are using it strictly for parking.
For the church's operations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, if they could have explained to me how the parking, like they fit 50 cars on that lot or something around the building, that we might be able to do something, but I don't have that information. Reasonable? Yeah,
Do you want me to weigh in here?
sure.
So I did receive some correspondence from Mr. Mike Mead. I'm not sure if he's here today to providing testimony, but he said that they're using the lot to currently park church members. But the information that was available to me was there's a residence that they stated, Mr. Mead stated would be demolished, and then they would use it to park cars. So it was just a little confusing. I had anticipated and hoped, and I encouraged him to show up today to provide testimony to the board of whether or not they're actually using the property for religious purpose. And that's the element that needs to be met here. If he's not here today, I think there's a big question of whether or not that property is actually being used. Because in the application, it stated, well, they're going to demolish this house and then use it as a parking lot. But right now, it appears to be a residential lot without any real ability to park cars there. Unless you're gonna park them on the grass or something, and I don't know if that's happening or not, and I'm not sure the applicant is even here to testify, so.
Yeah.
Not on the telephone at all? Mr. Mead?
So, I mean, at this point, this is kind of the one and only time we do this, right?
It is.
Yeah, so, ready for a motion? Oh, let's see.
Mr. Mead?
Who just joined us by telephone?
My name is Melissa Hallis. I'm with the Spirit Bend Water Association.
Okay, we'll get to you in a few minutes, I think. Thank you for being on the line.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I saw the same comment, and it's not clear as to when that will be either. So, okay.
And it actually has to be in use, I think, either by today or by January
By
1st?
April 15th.
April 15th, so it's
Yeah.
not raised yet. I move that we deny the exempt application for AIN 257773 International Church Foursquare Gospel North Church CDA.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, item 4, exemption application for AIN 143280, Heart of the City Church, Inc. And this one looks like it is in compliance.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to add? Or
I don't think so. I didn't find any question. It appears to be operating the way it is.
Yeah. So I'm good with it if you're good with it.
Okay. I move that we approve the exempt application for AIN 143280, Heart of the City Church, Inc.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, item 5, exemption application AIN number 103172, Kootenai Health, Inc. All right. This one seems to be,
Hi, Nathan
Hi.
Orlando, on behalf of Kootenai Health.
okay, thank you. Everything I think is okay with this particular property to be approved.
Yes, and then next year, we'll have a different set of criteria to look at these things.
That's right.
So, yep.
So I'll take a motion.
All right, I move that we approve the application for tax exempt for AIN 103172 Kootenai Health, Inc.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Next item, number 6, exemption application, AIN 353937, Spirit Bend Water Association. And this
Okay.
one, I think.
You're on the
is-
phone? She said,
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
okay. Anything to add outside of our packet?
No, I think we provided as much information as we could gather, but we wanted to be available for questions today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I have none.
Nope. Take a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the tax exemption for AIN 937 Spirit Bend Water Association.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Next up, thank you. Next up is item 7, exemption
you.
application for AIN numbers 101641 and 117402. And this is for Absolute Ministries.
Good afternoon.
Is it on green?
It is.
Okay, perfect.
So I think you heard the earlier case where if you're not the owner, then we can't grant the exemption. So I just wanted to double check that your church is not the owner of the property.
Yeah, does the county offer variance for the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law in a case like this? I've heard the earlier organizations that were represented. But the same thing, it's a triple net scenario. The burden is 100% on the nonprofit 501c3.
Yeah, I think part of the problem with that is that, then there's no notice when you vacate the property. So the exemption stays with the property, not with the business. And that's part of the reason that you have to own the property, because there's no way to have it follow you. It's allocated to the property.
Is it
Unless
applied,
there's,
is it applied for annually? So if the lease goes through the end of the next year, showing that we would be in possession of it and legally liable for it essentially through the end of the year?
So legally liable, no, but if you actually become the owner of the property, then you would have another opportunity for next year to apply for the exemption like you did this year.
Just to your point, if the burden is on the organization, the exemption follows the property, then because it has to be annually applied for, wouldn't there'd be a filter at that annual point when it gets reapplied for, correct?
well, I'm just stating probably the intent of why the statute was written that way.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, there is, all these people we're granting today will have to come back every single year and file an affidavit that the use is still the same as when it was granted. So yes, that is the case, but again, if you got the exemption today, you found a new location in 30 days, they would still get the benefit for 12 months
Gotcha.
because they wouldn't be able to fill out the affidavit till next year.
Okay. Would the board or the assessor accept an affidavit or a use covenant for the property from the owner saying that?
Commissioner, if you would, the 63, Idaho Code 63602 GG is very clear that in order to qualify for an exemption provided under that section, the property must be, the owner must hold legal and equitable title to the property. It does not appear that there's legal title being held here by the nonprofit, so it just simply doesn't qualify. Tax exemptions are strictly and narrowly construed in favor of the government, and there must be strict compliance with the requirements of tax exempt statutes. That's all in case law in the Idaho Supreme Court. So there's really no way around the requirement for legal and equitable title to be held by the nonprofit in this circumstance.
But it might be something that you would want to discuss with the owner, the property owner.
Yeah.
Because if they were under the same assumption, then maybe they would have some grace. So, yeah. Okay, anything
No.
else?
Sorry, our hands are tied when it comes to the statute like that,
Yeah.
so.
All right, I move that we deny the exempt application for AIN 101-641 and 117-402 Absolute Ministries.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you for
all.
coming in, though.
Okay, item 8, exemption application AIN 147759, One Place Church.
Maybe nobody's here.
And this, is there anyone here from One Place Church on the telephone? Well,
So this one is a little bit vague. They are obviously, a church entity, but what is the exact use today would be my question. Let's see reread the application, because I didn't memorize all of these. Yeah, because see, number 9, the property is currently being used for religious purposes, but will eventually be used as a church. So what are those religious?
yeah,
So I'll just add a little here that the Idaho Code 63602B does state that the property should be used or must be used in connection with any combination of religious, educational, or recreational purposes or activities. So it's a little unclear in this application what those activities are. It does say religious purposes. Again, it doesn't appear that the applicant is here to actually give testimony.
No, but page 374 in your packet, they do explain a little bit further that the property is open every day for a guided prayer walk that includes guided prompts for the church member. And it's been promoted in their services and on social media. I think one of their men's Bible study also uses this. So is that enough?
Yeah, I think that's a factual determination that's at the discretion of the board.
Well, it fits the definition of religious,
Uses.
purposes or
Yeah.
uses. So I think with that said, that would make it eligible for the exemption.
Okay, so you're comfortable.
Based upon this description of what they're using the property for, yes.
Okay. I move that we approve the exempt application for AIN 147759, One Place Church.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next up, item 9, exemption application for AIN numbers 314438, 314439, 314440, 314441, and 314442. Bayview Bible Church.
So this one, a little bit similar to the last one. Oh, good. Please come in and speak to us about this.
Thank you. I'm Ken Fry on behalf of Bayview Bible Church.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes, my pleasure.
So in the descriptions here, it's kind of hard because they're duplicated 5 times.
It's a future site of a church.
Right.
What exactly is being done on those properties today?
Right, so in planning right now, the conditional use permit is under review. We have the architectural plans for the building. It's used for we meet right across the street at the Bayview Community Center. So it's used for overflow parking. Once it gets a little warmer in the summer, we have church service out there once every month. Last church service was Good Friday here just a few weeks ago. And the only time it's not used for church activity or for the members of the church is the one day in July for Bayview Days, where we just open it up to the community since there's so much parking for the fireworks.
And you don't charge for that service?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, okay. That seems to fit the definition.
Yeah, I just was wondering the one time a month, but if there's potential that people park every single Sunday?
Oh, most
Because-
definitely. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
we have become big enough, we take both floors of the community center, and there's not enough parking where Life Flight lands. That's,
Right, so is that all 5 parcels or maybe 1 or 2?
so the way the road comes through, we need to park on all 5 because the lot, there was an aerial view, it's very treed. And so we just fit cars in where
I'm
we
trying to
can.
pull up the aerial view. I don't know. This one's a really big packet. Okay, that's not very clear. Okay, so that's better. Okay, yeah, so these are the 5. So that must be used at the community center. That's the community center.
on all of these
parcels
in essence,
Yeah.
because the rest of it's treed.
And what are you looking at time frame for building?
So it really depends on the county. We can start groundwork, geo studies, groundwork, and maybe even get pavement in this fall if we can get this approval on the conditional use permit.
Okay,
The drawings are done by the architect.
right.
May I say, completed by the architect.
What do you think?
Well, it's, I want to be real careful for what we've already approved and not approved today. So, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit uncomfortable because you're not really using all 5 of the parcels, all of 5 of the parcels. You might be using, a narrow strip along the road. So that would be,
So actually, it's not the narrow strip along the road. It's actually, we have to come into the property, up Livel, and then up into the clearing to actually park along those 5.
can you show me?
Yes.
And then how many members are in your church?
So attendance versus membership is a bit
Sure,
different.
yeah.
I believe we only have 79 members. Last Sunday attendance was 154.
Okay.
So, and as you can see from the, so we have to enter in on Livel, and we come in through the center here because all this is treed. And so we park in where we can fit right up in through there.
Okay. And then is that what you see, Dyson, on the actual aerial view? You see a road or, sorry?
The trees along Perimeter Road, and we come in level and then down through the center of the property.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
You can kind of see it's a little bit behind from our angle. Yeah, there's a road in the middle there.
Okay.
if I may, so the intention really is for us to have a church, and I don't have the site diagram where we take it all up. It is parked. I don't know if you have a aerial view of the community center, but there's 14 parks above it, and then there's 9 park spaces below it, and then we have to leave the rest because it's the volunteer fire department and Lifelight lands. And so, the number of cars that park across there every Sunday is a lot.
Sure. I just want to make sure, because the other one had the building on it, and were they parking on the grass, but obviously we couldn't make that decision.
Well,
So
I'm not sure, is there a definition or a requirement for what percentage of the lot gets used? I mean, as long as they're using the lot for these church-related services to the extent that they can.
The only distinction would be if part of the lot's being used for commercial purposes.
which they're not.
So I would suggest to the board, you may want to ask the assessor's office if they have any information to the contrary about the use of these parcels, or whether they have an objection. The testimony was that all 5 parcels are being used for parking. 150 some cars potentially
Sure.
I don't know how much space those take up, or whether or not those 5 parcels are actually being used or not, but that's the testimony today.
Sure.
We don't have any information that would indicate that they're being used for another use besides what's been indicated by the gentleman. We don't see any pop-up structures or anything commercial happening to us. They're marked as vacant lots and appraised that way.
I'm inclined to say yes, just because there's no use that, in my mind, is a question mark.
Sure. All right, I move that we approve the exempt applications for AIN numbers 314438, 314439, 314440, 314441, and 314442.
Second?
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Item 10, Developers Infrastructure Exemption, Jacqueline Ranch, Medalist Development, Inc.
Is that you guys, or just, guess it's just our packet? So I'm not familiar with this particular development, but I am familiar with how we do this every year. And what happens is because they're in development and they're not being occupied and enjoyed for their intended purpose, then they're given a discount. So I think it looks like items 10 through 13 are those. Yeah, Terry, did you have anything to add? Okay.
There is only one thing I would add on number 10
Okay.
for Medalist is the parcels that they applied for was because they did not, to our definition, qualify for the agricultural exemption. So if you go out 41 and Prairie, this is the development over there. So there's a good chunk to the north that is still being farmed actively, but they're starting to split up these parcels into 1 acre lots. They're not replanting on them. They're being set up for sale. They're signed for sale, and those are starting to move. We've seen some of those sell already, and so. As Colton went out there, he's our agricultural appraiser. As he went out there and looked at those, he found that some of these lots are not qualifying for the agricultural exemption anymore. And so we denied that, but we told them about the developer's exemption, and it's a much more appropriate fit for this type of parcel. And I just want to make a comment on that, that we are seeing more and more of this, agricultural land getting developed and switching over, and the exemption needs to switch over as well.
Okay.
And then can we handle them all together, or would you like just 4 individual motions? They're just all developers, infrastructure, so.
Yeah, I think you can handle it for that item. You can handle those together.
You all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I move we approve developers' infrastructure exemptions for the Jacqueline Ranch Medalist Development, the Burkdale Commons 15th Street Investments LLC and Burkdale Commons North LLC, Atlas Waterfront 3rd Edition Core Investment Group LLC, the Union 1st Edition Dennis Cunningham Pinnacle 19 LLC.
I second the motion.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. The motion or items 10, 11, 12, and 13 pass. Next up is item 14, Property Exemption Annual Report of Industrial Property for AIN 170530, and this is with Plummer Forest Products.
Commissioners, I have our business intelligence analyst, Kendall, who's been working with our personal property appraiser on some of these exemptions to kind of give a breakdown of what these mean and how they function. And then we'll have some more detail for you for item number 16, real alloy, which has to do with the packet that I gave you, which is some additional instruction received from the state regarding this exemption.
Okay, this is Kendall for the record, and I'm sort of just going to talk about items 14 and 15 together because they fall under the same exemption. They applied for 602P, which is water and air pollution control. To vaguely summarize, it's any machine or equipment that is utilized to mitigate or prevent pollution of water or air. That equipment is specifically exempt. And then for item 16, they also applied. And there's also a separate exemption that they applied for, which I will have Dyson explain on that.
So why don't we just handle 14 and 15 now? And are there any physical inspections of the property or the equipment done?
Occasionally, yes. I know that most of the time we operate via declarations on an annual basis. If there's further questions regarding those specific assets, the appraiser will go inspect those individually.
Okay. All right, you comfortable?
Yeah, let's go ahead and make the motion.
So I move that we approve the property exemption for the, and the annual report of the industrial properties for AIN 170530, which is Plummer Forest Products, and AIN 324773, which is Interstate Concrete and Asphalt.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries for items 14 and 15. I guess we could do 16 and 17, or are they different?
16 we'll want to handle on our own, I think. 17
All right.
is the same.
Item
Here,
17.
hold on, I'll just have to read it in. Item 16, Property Exemption Annual Report of Industrial Property, AIN 173327, and this is with Real Alloy Recycling LLC. Go ahead.
So they applied for a qualified investment exemption, and this is kind of a either or, so they can apply for this exemption or they can get a tax credit on their income tax. And so this is a much more involved exemption between us, the state, and the board. We all kind of share in determining whether or not they get this exemption. And the first step is that we get this Form 49E on their declarations. They submit that, and then we work with the state to evaluate whether or not the property they're applying for qualifies. And so we work with a person down there. Her contact information is in the packet that I gave you. They did not submit a Form 49E with their application this year. We recently spoke to the state, and it's kind of up to all of us whether or not we want to extend and see if they can get us the form and revise. My recommendation would be that we do not do that for this year, as we're going into roll time frame, and there will be a lot of back and forth, and this could delay the process if we're waiting for this exemption. We still want to reach out and do an evaluation on this, but we can handle this through possibly a corrected notice or an ARC later if they did end up qualifying. This is our first time with this exemption, so it's going to take some back and forth with the state and our appraiser to make sure that we're doing this all properly. So we'll bring it back to you once we have some more information on this. But at this time for this meeting, my recommendation would be no, because we didn't get the information in the application.
Okay, so you would prefer a denial over no action?
No action is effectively a denial.
So,
A denial allows you to put a reason on the record if you like.
it's up to you.
No action's fine.
Okay.
It's an in-progress thing, so it's not like we're,
Sure.
really giving a decision.
Okay.
So we'll move on to item 17. Property exemption annual report of industrial property for AIN numbers 169856 and 303609 with Infinite Electronics International, Inc.
And so for item 17, this fell under the intangible personal property statute. I believe it is 602L is what I have down. That should cover copyrights, companies' created softwares, trade secrets, things that are not physically there. For the specific declaration and exemption application, they submitted that they had software that they've created that they wanted exempted for that purpose.
Okay. Do you recommend the exemption?
It falls under the statute, so
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay. Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the property exemption as well as the annual report of industrial property for AIN numbers 169856303 303609, and that is Infinite Electronics International.
Second.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, 18, agricultural exemption review, 2025, various properties, multiple owners.
Yes, this is our agricultural exemption. Everything we have on the list, we would say qualifies. Our agricultural appraiser has done the work and verified the documentation we received from the various owners. The only note I would make to the board is that we did see quite a few of these fall off due to lack of information from property owners. So we were not able to verify income for quite a few, so we're going to have a lot of these fall off. I imagine we might be coming back around to these if they get their assessment notice and it's significantly higher. As the board knows, the agricultural exemption has a pretty significant effect on value, so they'll definitely notice, if not during the assessment notice timeframe, during tax time.
Can we handle it during BOE?
If they come in with
With the assessment, right.
Okay. I trust we don't need to list all the AINs.
No. All right, I move that we approve the agricultural exemptions for the 2025, the various properties.
I second the motion.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment. Hearing none. 3:38, meeting adjourned.